So as James mentioned, I am dialing in from New Zealand. So for once, the Kiwi accent actually matches my place. So thank you very much for, one, obviously tuning into this talk, but hopefully the morning has been really beneficial for you, and hopefully this talk will be equally as beneficial. So as James said, I was previously in London for the last 5 years working at Receipt Bank as the General Manager for the UK. So that was the biggest revenue market for Receipt Bank. And through that time, through that 5 years, I saw a Series A, Series B, Series C. When I joined, we were 70 people globally, and when I left, we were just over 450, edging on 500. So it was one hell of a ride. And actually last year for Sales Confidence Awards, I did a talk about building a diverse sales team to be able to accelerate your learning and deliver results. And so I thought it was only fitting, considering I talked about the sales culture and the building a diverse team last time, to actually focus on the delivering of results this time. So as you may be aware, this talk is all about execution, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and I think really makes a difference of a good sales leader. So obviously our roles as sales and revenue leaders are incredibly pressurized. So we are, at the front line. We have a direct line to the investors. We have a direct line to the board, the senior management team. We have ambitious year-on-year growth. We have, goals to be a unicorn or a rocket ship status. And we also have the pressure of actually driving the team on the front line. So we are the ones, there every day, coaching, developing our people, and actually driving the sales on the front line. So this means that we have to be incredibly good at both driving action and actually delivering those results. So the now more than ever part of this talk obviously comes from the current climate. So I've been speaking to quite a lot of sales leaders over the past couple of months, and no doubt that a lot of you, on here today are dealing with one of the following. So it could be, a reduced budget, it could be reduced headcount, you could be dealing with a depleted team due to potentially redundancies and furloughs, or you could just be dealing with the challenges of actually selling to businesses that are facing that same challenge. So hopefully this talk is going to give you some practical tools to actually, work on the execution side, because I do think now more than ever it is incredibly crucial, if you are a sales leader on the front line, to be able to focus on the execution piece and actually deliver those results. All right, so I'm just going to, if we were in person, I was going to ask you to put your hands up, but right now I'm just going to ask you to have a think. Have a think about a time that you've been in a meeting where you have probably been with someone who is incredibly good at strategy. So most leaders, they bring a lot of great ideas to the table. They can communicate their ideas. They're innovative. They think about ambitious long-term goals. Think about someone who's great at that. But when they leave the meeting, absolutely nothing. What comes from this is their team probably don't feel informed or empowered. They don't have a clear goal. They don't have clear milestones. They don't know the priority. What often means is that team is obviously not delivering results, but also there's confusion, there's stagnation, and there's also a lot of frustration. So have a think about the flip side of that. And either someone that you've worked with before, or potentially, the best person to work with, have a think about someone who would be in that meeting delivering this amazing strategy, thinking about these long-term objectives, these ambitious goals, and then leaving and executing. What does that look like? So that team looks like an empowered, ambitious, inspired team. They have accountability. They feel like they're contributing. They're invested in the end goal. And everyone knows where they're going and what they're being measured on. And that's really where I want to get to today. I'm going to leave the strategy piece out of it. And as I say, I'm only going to talk about the execution. I'm going to cover two things. I'm going to cover one, some practical tools that I personally think that you need to be able to do if you are looking at executing and delivering on a strategy and delivering results. And then I'm also going to cover 5 of the things that I've personally found incredibly beneficial when it comes to impacting and being a leader and driving results outside of your team. So actually helping deliver business objectives and actually helping you deliver during pressurized times, because I have absolutely no doubt that right now is probably one of the highest pressurized times that you're probably facing in your role. So I'm going to jump into a presentation. So bear with me because here we go. Perfect. So I'm going to start with this. So people don't execute because it's hard. And I truly do think that this is the case. Strategy is one thing, and I do think it takes a talent to be, very strategic, but executing is a talent in itself, and it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of hard work. So what are the main differences between the two people that I explained, and what can you actually take from that to implement in your day-to-day life to make sure that you get to delivering those results? The first thing is a clear goal. You have to be aligned on a goal. This does come from the strategic side of things, but that goal has to be very clearly communicated within your business and within your function. And that is really going to make sure that you are starting off on the right page. Timelines, milestones, and metrics. So this is when you as a leader is going to break down that high-level goal, and you're going to start thinking about what are some of the milestones, the timelines, and what are the core metrics that I think that we need to track in order to achieve our goal, but also what are the influencing metrics that are going to get us there. And this is really when you start to speak the same language. You have a goal, you have the milestones, you have the metrics. You probably want to build some form of dashboard so you've got everyone looking at the same figures, but you're all starting to speak the same language and you're all starting to move in the right direction. Accountability. So accountability is one of those frustrating things that I think when done really well, probably is the best thing that can happen. And most frustratingly, when not done well, can probably cause the most issues. So accountability is really important. So making sure that you have the right people involved, making sure that those people feel empowered to make decisions. This is so crucial. If you want to be able to deliver high growth results in a pressurized, high growth pace, you need to be able to enable your team to feel empowered and accountable to make decisions. Ambiguity and lack of accountability is always going to lead to confusion and stagnation. So accountability is a really key thing to get right and to keep working on. The tools to succeed. So this is a big one this is where the coaching comes into play. So making sure that your team feel supported and making sure that they feel like they've got the skill sets and the software and the systems in order to actually deliver those key results, deliver the business goals, and actually succeed. And this is when you as a leader have to really work on the kind of coaching aspect and making sure that you've got the processes and the systems in place where the team feel like they are set up to succeed. And review. Review is one of the most important things, and this has to be on a constant, cycle. So I talked about this in my last talk around retrospectives and actually constantly being able to look at what worked, what didn't. It's exactly the same here. I highly recommend scheduling, whether it's a weekly progress call or meeting, or whether it's a monthly retrospective, depending on how long the goal is or the business objective is, and really set time to reevaluate the progress. So this is going to be where you help raise issues. Red flags might come up here. You might identify opportunities to over-succeed. But this is really when, your team is going to feel heard. They have a place where they can go and they can, be listened to, and you can identify potential challenges or opportunities. And second of all, this is going to enable you to really be able to adapt the process to be able to meet your overall goals. So these steps really are just quite a basic kind of foundation into taking a strategy and taking a goal or a business objective and being able to, as a leader, break it down, take it through your team, build the accountability, build the empowerment, and make sure that you're constantly reviewing and analyzing what's working and what's not. And this is really where you're going to have the best opportunity to succeed on your business objectives. But hopefully through this process, you actually have an opportunity to over-succeed, which would be amazing. So as I said, these are the foundations to succeed. But one of the things that you want to do over the top of that is that's when you want to layer on you. So you want to layer on your experience, your knowledge, and your sales intuition. And this is really important because your experience and your knowledge is what's going to bring the process to life. So you can go in there and you should be able to, identify challenges or identify potential risks. And all of these things are going to help you to better execute on your business objectives because you're not going to be blindsided all the time. And sales intuition, I thought, was a really interesting one because I'm sure you've all been there where you have a gut feeling and you've seen something before, you've seen it not work, and you can see the same signs again. And this is really when you want to use your sales intuition and bring your experience and actually enhance the process and make sure that you are succeeding. Cool. So I think that is, for me, is the core of the process around as I say, being an effective executor. But when I think about my time at Receipt Bank, or being in a, fast-paced, high growth business, there are a lot more that is expected of you being a leader. One of those key things is not just delivering on your day-to-day deliverables, but actually being able to influence and impact the wider business objectives. So one of the key things, as I mentioned, is influencing other areas of the business. This is really where you're going to take your team to the next level, because what you want to do is obviously be able to indirectly impact your frontline team by directly impacting other areas of the business. So, for example, what I would think about doing is spending some of your time outside of your team, work with other departments, help benefit the growth of the business, and try and create a little bit of an ecosystem within the firm focused on a combined goal and a shared vision. Because what that means is you're just not, you're driving your team to execute on their business goals, but you're also aligning with the rest of the business. That could be things like, can you give better insight and feedback to product? Are marketing, up to date with the customer needs? Are there some objections that have come out of nowhere that you can actually relay back to the business? All of these things are going to be crucial in order to help deliver the wider business goals and obviously directly impact your team as well. Breaking down barriers. So this is a big thing, again, that I think is not directly related to an execution of a strategy, but should be an ongoing thing. So thinking about how do I continuously break down the barriers that my team or the company might be facing. And this is a really solution-led mindset. So is there, that sales rep that's been moaning, on and on about that repetitive task? Can we automate it? What are some of the things that you can do that when it does come to overachieving your business objectives, that you can actually break down some of the barriers that are on the day-to-day, which means that when we do come to executing, we will no doubt exceed. Understanding your non-negotiables. So this is a big one for me, and this really helps when you're in a sales or revenue leadership position, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, or it's very easy to think about all of the things that you could be doing or you should be doing. Understanding your non-negotiables is really about what are the 2 or 3 main things that trump everything. Have those written down and make sure every time you feel overwhelmed or anytime you might be feeling, like you've got too much to do or things are slipping out of your hands, go back to your non-negotiables. Really good examples of this could be quite literally your sales team being able to do their job. If the sales team can't call, everything else stops. If deals can't be made, we need to look at that first. Another good example could be developing and inspiring your people. So, if you're caught up with all of these other things and you don't have time to develop your people, you know that you can't retain good talent, and you also can't get the benefit from accelerated learning. Therefore, understanding your non-negotiables and having that as a key driver and grounding every single time that you potentially feel overwhelmed is going to make sure that you're constantly delivering on what you need to deliver. And again, those are the key drivers that really trump all, in my opinion. Knowing your levers. So very similar to the idea of control your controllables. As we all know, again, being a sales leader, you may be relying on a product release or a marketing event to happen. You need to always have a backup plan. The biggest thing is sales targets don't change. And I'm sure all of you know this, things don't go to plan, but sales targets do not change. So you need to be able to know your levers, being prepared and being aware of all of the different things that you can pull, having something in your back pocket, knowing that if the goal and the objective is, for example, your new sales or your new partner growth, know your levers. If you need to then pull some of your team off doing something else to drive new sales, because that's going to be, it's going to make up the gap between that and a marketing plan, you're going to have to do it. And last thing, so I know I'm going to be kicked off, is lead by example. So this is a crucial one. And again, it's something that I think gains you all the respect within a company. Leading by example and actually being able to, show that you're in there, you get in the trenches, you can roll your sleeves up, being able to actually be there side by side with your team is absolutely, the number one thing that is going to set you apart from other leaders. Out of all of this, the most important thing about being a leader that executes is what it gives you, right? It gives you the respect from your team and the other leaders in the business. It builds up your credibility. again, there's nothing worse than being that person who's incredibly good at strategy but leaves the room and nothing happens. So build up your credibility, be that person that actually can deliver. The third thing, results, they speak for themselves. Being able to deliver results is an crucial thing for a sales leader in a SaaS growth company. And learnings, I think, is the big thing here as well. It's being able to constantly learn and take your learnings on a quarter-on-quarter, year-on-year basis, and constantly improve and develop to continue driving those results.